Hey everyone, so welcome to today's video. We're going to go through and I'm going to show you a little bit about how to set up a Zap, which allows me to record. Whenever I record a new deal in HubSpot, it'll automatically create a row in Google Sheets. And this is basically this presentation, and this video is going to go through sort of the steps to set up in Zapier so that you can do this. So every time there's a new deal in HubSpot, create a row in Google Sheets, and this kind of logic can be used for anything in HubSpot. You might have any kind of record, a new contact, a new company. You want to put that information into a second system, and you want to use Zapier to do that. I'm just using Google Sheets as an example, but it could be anything. It could be another CRM. It could be a marketing system. It could be a Zendesk, a customer service sort of system, or any other, Airtable or any other piece of software that you're using. And then the second example I'm going to go through in the follow-up video is when you have a new record in your second system. In this case, I'm using Google Sheets as the example. Then create the record in HubSpot. And so for the first video, we're going to look at deals, because I feel like that's probably more likely something you may need to be doing with this order of things. So create a new deal in HubSpot, then create the deal row in Google Sheets. And then the second one will be when there's a new row in Google Sheets as the trigger. In this case, let's say you've got a contact list, add a new contact list to that Google Sheets row. Maybe it's coming from Facebook leads or Google ad leads, or maybe you're just manually adding the contact as a row, or maybe it's flowing in from Zendesk or from other third-party sort of system. And then send that through to HubSpot and create the new record in HubSpot, like so, using Zapier. So that's going to be the second video. But for this first video, we're going to focus on this here. New deal record, create a new deal row in Google Sheets. So let's jump back to HubSpot, and we can see here, this is the demo account that I've got set up. We're going to go into deals, just have a quick look at our deals here. So we have a few deals, and I'm going to add in another example deal, which we can use to sort of trigger this. And then it's going to go into this Google Sheet, just blank Google Sheet that I've created. So I'm going to take you through all the steps to get that sort of set up. Oh, let me close that there. So I'm using Sidekick, this Chrome browser. So I've got all my little tabs here on the left as a little sort of shortcuts. So that's why it's sort of hidden over there. The deals are now showing here, we can see. So let's jump back to ClickUp. I've got a little ClickUp whiteboard here as well. So that's what I'm using just for your reference. I use ClickUp for all of my task management and sort of project management. And they have this whiteboard function, which is kind of new in ClickUp 3.0. And so I'm giving that a go as well. So a very simple sort of whiteboarding sort of tool. So we're going to jump into here, new deal record equals new deal row. So let's take one step back. So we're going to look in HubSpot, and we're going to consider the way HubSpot's sort of structured, so you can understand how we're creating these deals. Because in HubSpot, we've got contacts, companies, deals, there's other things as well. These are all considered objects. So we've got the contact object, the company object, the deal object. We can sort of see it here as well. If you click on the contacts, you can see all the sort of the objects. And this is the structure of HubSpot. So all of these are kind of unique sections inside HubSpot. And you can create associations between these objects and each other, so that we can, for example, have a contact, and that contact works at a company, and that company and that contact have a deal. If we click on the contact here, we can see the contact details are all on this side. And on the right, we've got the different related object details. So this contact is associated with this company. And if there were other associations, they would appear here. So deal association would be here. So if we jump back to that sketch, we can see here, for the sake of this presentation, just to keep it simple, I'm talking about three different objects. We've got contacts. So you might have a record 1, might be John Smith. Record 2 might be Mary Adams as a contact. We've got companies, for example, Apple, Google, whatever kind of companies you've got as for your audience. And we've got the deals. So for example, Apple might have a deal for January, might have a deal for March. Google might have a deal for January. And then there's an association made between the deal and the companies, the deal and the contacts and the companies, like that. So these are what are called associations or object associations. So you might have a contact is working at a company and a company is associated to a contact, like that. We might have a contact associated to a deal, like so. Yeah, I'll leave it like that. And the deal associated to the contact. And we might have the deal associated also to a company, and vice versa. And so as you can see, we've got these relationships: contact to a company, company to a deal, deal to a contact. So the contact can be associated with a company and to a deal, or neither, and so on. If we break this down, let's say we take these boxes and we look at a specific example. So let's say just John Smith. We've got John Smith who's working at Apple, and we have the company Apple, and then we have the Apple deals, and we've got 2 deals for Apple. Let's break those down like this. I'll get rid of that deal, and then we've got the January deal here. And so we have this contact and company that are connected to each other, and then we have the contact is related to each of these deals, and we have the company related to each of these deals, like so. The deals are not related to each other, but they are related to the contact, and they are related to the company and the contact are related to each other. So I hope that doesn't make things too complicated, but you can see here, this is why we have to create associations with our zaps between these contacts and companies and deal objects. Otherwise, you won't have the relationship. So if we jump back to HubSpot, we have 10L here. He's associated to the company here, and then he would be associated to the deal. Now, if we created a deal like so, and it doesn't have any associations, that's still okay, but you just wouldn't be able to find things as easily. So if we had a new deal, let's say with 10L, like so, and we say sales, it's just started, $100, new business, etc. Okay. And now here we can associate the deal with the contact and the company. We can create it without that association. We can see here we've got the deal. But if we then go into 10L, if we go into his contact, we're not going to be able to find, let me jump in here. If we go to here, he won't be associated to that deal. And that's why we need to create that association. So we can do it here like this. We're on the deal now for 10L. We can find 10L and create that association. So he's related to that deal. And see, the company's not automatically associated. He works at HAPES Consortium, but it's not associated. So we also need to add that here. Because if I go back to him, I can see that he's associated with this company, like this. Here's the company, but the company hasn't got any deals. So if we go back to him, we can go back to the deal. We can associate it to the company, like this. And now we have company, contact, and deal. And if I refresh the company, I can see the contact that it's associated to and the deal. And so then if we were to create a second deal, let's say we have a deal called HAPES deal March, like so. And we create that. No associations again, because we didn't fill in that bottom section of the add deal section. So I'll have to do it like this. We grab the consortium there. We add the contact. Let's see, can I find it like this? There he is, 10L. And we save and we got that. So now we can see this deal associated to these two contacts. If I go to these two objects, if I go to the company, I can see now we've got these 2 deals showing. And if I go to the contact, I can see we've got these 2 deals, like so. So the reason I'm explaining this now is because it will be a factor in the Zapier setup process. And we need to keep this in mind when we're setting up Zapier. So that's the structure. So if we jump back in to our video here, we're aiming to go and look at how to create a Zap when there's a new deal record added in HubSpot to create a new deal row in Google Sheets. So then let's jump back into Google Sheets, and we can see here it's blank sheet. So we'll need to have all the headlines, the titles, the headings that we want to have, which are the properties in HubSpot that we want to have in this Google Sheet. So we're looking at a new deal record, which is going to go into the Google Sheet. So for a new deal, let's say we use this latest deal that we just added in. What are the fields you want to have in the Google Sheet, for example? So we've got deal name, deal ID, what else? We've got the owner, the amount, the stage, the pipeline. Let's go pipeline, stage, amount, create date. What else do we have here? Deal type. Okay, let's skip that one. So we've got the main sort of records here. We also want to have the company and the contact. So let's add that in, company, contact, and you'll see what this means when we do that. Create date. Well, also I think we do last update as well, last modified date. Okay, so we've got our titles here, which is great. Let's jump into Zapier now. Let's create a Zap from scratch. Actually, we can do it even faster than that. Let's jump in, get in the habit. So what do we want to automate? I've been using Zapier for, I think, over 8 years now. And the recent addition of AI is incredible. It's really helped streamline things. So I think traditionally we would create a Zap and we'd have to start with the trigger and everything, click by click. And I find that even though AI doesn't make it perfect, it definitely makes it faster, and it can add in a lot of the steps to save time. So let me jump in and do it with AI here to show you, but you're welcome to sort of set this up step by step as well. See, what do we want to do? Let's go back to our little graphic. So we want to, when a new deal is created in HubSpot, create a new deal in Google Sheets. So new HubSpot deal, then create new row in Google Sheets. Let's see how it does. Cool. Okay, so here it is. New deal HubSpot, new row Google Sheets. Now, I guess the question is, do we want to also update when there is a change in the deal? That would be a different Zap, because we would have to have a different trigger, because this is only going to trigger when there's a new deal, not when the deal is changed. And we would need to do a search to find the other deal. So maybe I can do another video about updating deals, setting up a Zap to update deals. But in this video, we're only going to talk about when a new deal is created, create the row in Google Sheets. And it's not going to do any updating of the details once it's created. It's going to be a one-off creation. So let's try this Zap. Cool. So we connect up our HubSpot account. Go connect. So we can see here when it triggers. Let's just go back a step. So it's found with the AI sort of set up. It's already found HubSpot. It's already selected the event new deal. You can see all the different triggers that you can use with HubSpot here. And then I've connected up my demo account here. Now it's explaining a little bit more about what will trigger. So this automatically triggers and pulls in these properties. HubSpot has a lot of properties. You might have, up to 1,000 properties for the deal object. And some of these properties some of the properties you have may not be visible in this default, what's going to be retrieved. So what do we want? We want the name. We got it here. So we want the name, the ID, the pipeline, the stage, the amount, company, contact, create date, and last modified date. So these should all be included. Let's see, deal type, deal name, amount, description, close date, create date, etc., etc. So I think we've got them all. We can see if not. Now, if we're missing something, we can always look for it in this step as well. So we might be looking for something like currency, which isn't included in this list. So we might add that in as an additional property to retrieve. So if you're missing a property when you're setting up the deal, when you're setting up the trigger, that's why. You got to add in some additional properties. Let's click continue. Let's test this trigger. And I think we've got our most recent one that we just created. New deal 10-all. Let's look at the other one. Harper's deal, March 24. Okay, let's use this one. We click continue. And now we choose our Google Sheets account. So I've already connected mine up. I'll select that. Click continue. We don't have to select the drive, but we need to select the spreadsheet. So we find that spreadsheet. HubSpot new deals via Zapier. And we select the worksheet, sheet 1, which is the only one we've got. And now, because we've already added in the first row with all the headline, with all the titles, then that appears here in the Zap. So it's important to do that before you get to this step. If you forget, or if you need to add more rows, add more columns, then you can do so, and you can also move them around, but it will mess things up in the Zap later on. You always have to remember to refresh the fields so you can find what you're looking for. So for example, if I change this and I wanted to add currency, let's add currency here, like this. Now currency is not going to appear here because this is what was pulled when it first set up this task, this step, this action step. So I've got to refresh the fields to get the currency one appearing. There's the currency, like so. So let's continue. And we are going to, under action, we need to select the data that's going to flow into each of these fields in HubSpot, in Zapier, sorry, in Google Sheets. So when we click it, we can see the options that appear here. So we've got deal information, deal name. That's what we want. We pop that in there. Deal ID, easy. Pipeline. Now, if you can't find it quickly, I usually try and type it in. Do we not have pipeline? Let's see. Pipeline. No, pipeline's not mentioned here. Okay, so why is that missing? Because we didn't pull it in the trigger step. Let's have a look. So it's not mentioned there. Let's try and get it here. Pipeline. Where is this pipeline gone? Here it is at the very bottom. Deal activity pipeline. We got that. And what's the other one? We want to get the stage. I think stage comes in. Let's have a look. Let me check here. Stage. Deal stage. Let's grab that. Deal stage. Yeah, it doesn't come in. Interesting. So we continue that. Continue with selected records. We've got to run that test step again. So we pull that data again because it won't be pulled in, because when we first ran this trigger, it wouldn't have pulled that in. So let's grab that again. Let's find the right one. Yep. Okay, let's try that. And we go back to the create spreadsheet row action step. Now let's go to pipeline. Now we should have it here. Cool. Default pipeline. Let's go to stage, appointment scheduled. Okay. We've got currency. We didn't add any currency data, so that's blank here. Amount, $1. Company name. So let's have a look. Company name. No company name details. And that's because what we're pulling in here is only the deal information. Only this information that exists here. It's not pulling in the association, the associated information, associated to company, associated to contact. It's only pulling in the information for this specific deal. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. So we actually need a separate step to pull in the association information if we want that, because we don't have company information here. So we'll skip that for a second. Let's finish setting this up, and contact will be the same as well. So we can do create date, should have that here. Let's see. Create date. Okay. And we can do last modified date, I think, as well. Let's grab that. Last modified date. Great. Cool. So let's just test this just for the sake of this specific setup. And let's see if this comes through. Yay, okay, that's great. So it's come through here. We can see here the information. We're just missing company and contact detail. I'm going to make the top row bold. I'm going to freeze that section there so we can do that. Great. Now we need to fix this issue with the details for the associated contact and company. So we add a step here, and we're going to look at HubSpot. Oops, HubSpot. We grab the standard Zapier integration. There we go. So now let's type in association. So we want to find associations. So we click find association. We've got our HubSpot account already connected up. And so basically what it's saying here is that if it can't find the information needed, what should it do? So you can select if you want the action to stop the task if it can't be found, or continue, basically. So you can halt task if at least one search association error received, halt if the association not found, or do not halt task. So we'd leave that as association not found. And then we've got the ID of the object we want to search for. So this ID has to be found here. So we can see here this ID mentioned, but this is actually for the deal ID. And that is what we want to get. So we use the deal ID to search to find the other associated objects. So we can see here, this is the ID we're going to use, the only ID we've got at this point. And what's the association we're searching for with this ID? So this ID is the deal ID, because that's what we're dealing with here, the deal ID. And we've got the deal ID, and then we want to get associated two different other objects. So we select two, number of associated types we want to search for two. The first one we'll do is contacts. So let's select contact. For the second type is the company. So we're going to get the contact, we're going to get the company. Should it be considered a success if nothing is found? Yes, it can be. Because sometimes there may not be an association between contact and company if someone's just added the deal with only one of those values. And then let's try and test that step. And that's great. So we can see we've got two other IDs. We've got a contact ID here and we've got a company ID here. So that's good. Unfortunately, that information doesn't tell us exactly what we want, because you obviously want to know the name of the contact, the name of the company. Because we could, for example, continue in the action step and we can add that in here, like so. We could add company, but it would just be the ID. And we could add contact, but it would just be the ID. And then that's not very useful. Let me add that in now, just to show you. Let's say company ID, contact ID, and then I'm going to add a few more columns to the right. We're going to say company name. And I think we also want to have the company domain as well. It's good to have, in case there's multiple companies with the same similar names. We use the domain to differentiate. And then we've got contact ID, we've got contact. You might want to split it out, first name. You might want to have last name, and you might also want to have email address. So let's put that here like this. Contact email. Like so, okay. And now we've got to go back in. Now we've got to go back in and go back to our sheet, Google Sheet here. We've got to refresh the fields. See, now we've got company ID, company name. So we're going to drop that company ID in here, company ID. And we've got the contact ID. And as you can see here, when we updated that, we added in these additional columns, some of these data points are now in the wrong place because the way Google Sheets integrates through Zapier, these are not associated to a specific name. They're only associated to the column number, the column ID number. So we need to grab this and fix this up and move this to the appropriate section. So this is actually got to be down here, create date. I've copied that, Control C or Command C and Command V, like so. Just make sure I delete that there. Cool. So now we've got company ID there, contact ID. Let's add that in here. That's the ID there. And so if we do another test, we'll be able to see that it's going to add it as a new row because that's what the action step does. And we can see ID here, contact ID here. But we want the names, right? We want to know who we're talking about. So in addition to find associations, now we need a step to then get the detail from those associations. So we add HubSpot step. So we want to get contact. Let's do that. Get contact. Continue, continue. This is what's going to pull. First name, last name, email, the company name that exists under that contact record, but it won't be the contact object. It'll just be the name that sits under the contact record. So to go into that, let me just show you what I mean here. This is kind of going a little bit another deeper step, but basically you've got a contact here. We've got all the contact details for that object, contact object on this side here. And so you have a property called company name, like this here. We've got Harper's Consortium, but this is only related under this particular contact object. The actual company association is over here. So you've got two sort of company names to think about. You've got the company name that's a field or a property under the contact, and you've got the associated company, which also has a company name. And in this case, it's just the domain name. It hasn't been updated. So we're going to ignore that company name here because we're going to use the association instead, the associated company object. But it looks like we've got all the details we need that we want to get. So that's good. And we just need to add in the contact ID, which we got in the previous step. Contact ID like this. Continue, test step, and we should be able to get those records. That's great. So we pulled in the records for that contact. Continue, and let's add one step to get the company information. So we go HubSpot again, and we do a search for company, get company, continue, continue, and hopefully we'll have the details we need. These are the ones automatically retrieved. Again, if we're missing any, we can add them in as additional properties. We add in our company ID from the find association step, like this. Continue. We test that step. Great, and it's pulled in the company information. Click continue. And now let's go back to our Google Sheets action step. And let's grab that information. So company name, let's come in here. So we've got company name, like so. Company domain, let me just type domain. We've got website URL. It's not actually, here we go, company domain. That's the one, great. And then we have contact, so we've got contact first name, there we go, Danelle. Last, oh, I mistyped it, company name. There we go, last name. Okay, but that'll automatically update. I don't actually need to rerun the Zap, rerun this first trigger, this first step here, because it doesn't matter what this text says here, it's just the order, you know, column 1, 2, 3. So it'll get it correct. So let's add in the last name, Ka, and we've got email address. I'm just going to do a quick search, grab that email. There it is there. Okay, we've got the email, and then let's continue and let's do a test, retest. It'll add another row. There we go. So we've got all the details we're looking for here. Domain, the company name. I'm going to change this company name so that it's a little bit cleaner. So we'll edit this. We'll say, oops, we say, delete that, capital H. We make this a capital C, we get rid of the .com. We save that. Okay, let's do this one more time. So I'll run this get company step again, retest. And then the spreadsheet step again, retest. And let's go to our Google Sheet. Bing, bing, bing. There we go. There's our company name and the key details we want for that contact. So now we can see we've set up the steps. It does seem a little bit extra, like a little bit of extra work, which is a little bit annoying when you're trying to just set up some simple Zap. But HubSpot is quite a big database and a little bit complicated. So that's why you required these sorts of extra steps. And so it can find the association and then look for those details. You don't really want a trigger that's just going to pull 1,000 properties all in one go, you know, for all the relationships. So it does seem a little bit extra, like a little bit of extra work to set this up. But in the long run, when you're doing very different Zaps with very different needs, this will actually save steps and headaches and, you know, complexity as well. So you just pull the data that you need. But, you know, for some other CRMs, you might have a step which is just new deal and it pulls like the 5 pieces of data that you need because it's a more simple CRM system. And then you might be able to jump straight to that create spreadsheet step. But for HubSpot, when you have a trigger of a new record in a certain object, then you'll usually need to find the associations if you want to get the other details that we're talking about before. So if you're looking to get the relationships between these different objects, then you will need to have this find association step and then get the data for those other pieces before you then have your final step where you're saving that information in another system. Cool, so that's it. And then the last step would be to publish the Zap. Obviously name the Zap or update the name of the Zap to make it clear, keep track. I like to put a number or something like that, you know, so I can keep track of which Zap I'm looking at. And I'll just say example like this. And then you have that nice and neat. And the Zap is now turned on and it's running. So a new deal, if I create a new deal, let's test this out now. So let's say I'm in this, the best way I find to create a new deal in HubSpot is you go to the contact that you're looking to create the deal with, you know, and hopefully that contact is already associated to a company. And you just go like this, add deal. It already creates the deal name. It also does the associations automatically as well. And so all you really need to do is just type in the amount, update any other details you want, and then hit create. And it'll create that deal. So we've got this HAPERS Consortium new deal. And then if we go into our Zap here, into our Google Sheets here, it's going to add another row here under row 6. Let's have a look. We can go into our Zap that we've turned on. We can have a little look at our Zap runs. Okay, and now we can see a Zap has run. Let's have a little look at this Zap. Looks good. And it looks like our deal. So let's jump into that Google Sheet. There it is. Very nice. So it's added that in, amount $11. And you can see all the information saved there. So I hope this is useful. We've gone into detail, quite a bit of detail in this video, and I hope that's useful for you to see all this detail. Trying to make these tutorials and these videos as helpful as possible, so that you can do it on your own, and you can learn. And let me know what you think about this, whether it's interesting for you. If it's valuable, please like the video. Feel free to subscribe if you want to get more content like this. And the next video I'm going to go through will be the reverse. and we'll talk about the process for when you have a new contact row in Google Sheets, then creating a new record in HubSpot. So please check that out. Feel free to share any feedback or comments or questions, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.